What is up, everybody? Welcome to VR365. Welcome to a brand new episode of the show. It is Sunday, and it is about 8:50 p.m. We are doing a late night show tonight, but we've got a number of different topics to talk about. I did a different kind of an episode earlier today at 11:30 a.m. It was a completely different podcast. It was a completely different YouTube channel, Dark Frequencies. It's an off-topic kind of a show about UFOs, simulation theory, a lot of weird stuff. So be sure to bounce over to the Dark Frequencies YouTube channel. Check that out because we had a pretty good episode today, and we've got a new episode coming in 2 weeks, Simulation Theory. I think that's going to be really cool. But I didn't do a regular VR365 Twitch episode, and I've got to do it. I'm contractually obligated to do it. So here I am, and we're going to do a late night show. And we've got a number of different subjects to get into, so why don't we go ahead and go to the webinar. Here we go. Okay, this should be operational. Yeah, so there's a number of interesting stories that's going on in VR gaming right about now, and probably the most interesting story of them all since Thursday when I did my last episode, which the last regular YouTube episode, of course, was the Summer Game Explosion, which we had so many different announcements that came out of the Upload VR Summer Showcase. And so that's mainly what I covered last time. Tons and tons of different game announcements, different tidbits, games going over to this platform, games going over to that platform, release dates, a few new game announcements, and things like that. Definitely go ahead and check that episode out if you haven't already. But now we've got this news. Apple with a standalone VR headset that is supposedly going to be arriving in 2022 after Johnny Ive balked at a wireless console. So yeah, that is the news that we have here. So Apple's vice president of VR AR wanted to build a powerful hub which would wirelessly stream content to a VR headset, but that was shot down by Johnny Ive. And so apparently Johnny Ive, so it was designed to feature ultra high resolution screens that will make it almost impossible for a user to differentiate the virtual world from the real one. A cinematic speaker system will make the experience even more realistic, people who have used prototypes say. So yeah, it appears that there could possibly be an Apple VR headset that is designed to compete with the Oculus Quest. It is said to resemble an Oculus Quest, but with a sleeker design and much higher resolution displays. Okay, so we're gonna, oops, that's definitely not where we want to go. Okay, back over here. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to pop into this window here. And I'm going to grab a little montage that I whipped up really quick for Apple and VR. And what exactly does all of this mean? And so if we go back here, you can see that that is Johnny Ive. He is a creative mastermind. He is incredible. Next generation Johnny Ive. When this guy talks, people listen, let me tell you. So my opinion on Apple VR is I've always been the guy that said, this is not going to happen. This is not logical. This does not make sense. For me, ladies and gentlemen, this simply does not compute. And what I have to say about this is, look, I could be wrong here. And based on this information that's coming out about a possible VR headset arriving in 2022, there's Johnny Ive talking with Timmy Apple. Johnny and Timmy together again. That, of course, is Timmy Apple, as we well know. So what I've always thought when it came to Apple and when it came to VR, I just figured, like, look at Microsoft in VR. Let's just take Microsoft in VR for an example. Microsoft has looked at VR from the very beginning, and it has basically decided, nah, we're good. we're good. We're not really tripping so hard on VR. Now, did they make Windows Mixed Reality platform, and they have a bunch of different headsets that's under their original reference design. So they've done a little bit of some VR stuff. But Microsoft, for the most part, has said, look, we're not big believers in VR. Somewhere down the line, some really high up people within Microsoft probably made a decision. Some different people have been negative about VR all along. For example, the CEO of Take-Two Interactive, Strauss Zelnick, has basically said he believes VR is a non-starter because what he ultimately decided was people are not going to dedicate their room to VR. They're just not going to do that. And other people have made the decision that, look, people do not want to put something on their face, especially something that is going to block everything else out, and you can't even see other people in the room. And so Microsoft has been like, no, we're not interested in VR. And a number of companies have said they're not interested in VR. And when you think about Apple and you think about VR, it doesn't seem tremendously logical that they would ever come out with a VR headset, because Apple is all about style. That Apple is so much about style. Even when we get these fake mock-ups of potential Apple VR headsets, the people that make the fake headsets, they try to make it stylish. They try to make it cool, because that's what Apple's always been. I mean, you go back to all the commercials and everything that they've ever done, it's always been in these white backgrounds, and they just try to get it like hip and cool, man. Like, Apple is just so cool. They do everything so right. It's just different with Apple, man. They're in a league of their own. And what I wouldn't expect from Apple is a VR headset, because right now the least sexy thing out there is a VR headset. Now, I know this will, like, some people will get upset about this, and some people will be like, dude, what are you talking about, Anthony? What does it matter what you look like in a VR headset? And look, I'll be the first one to agree with you. When you're wearing VR, you don't give an F what you look like on the outside. And a lot of us, we go into our man caves. In fact, I'm standing inside a man cave right now as we speak. We go into our man caves, we throw our VR headset on, we enter another world, and we don't really care what we look like on the outside. That's like the last consideration that we ever have. The problem is, I don't think that VR is ever going to truly be mainstream if it's limited to basically people like us that go into a private little room and disappear into our private VR worlds. That is a limited amount of people that are, people want to be around other people. They want to feel like other people are there. And there is some truth. One of the negatives with VR is the isolationism factor of it. We can try to pretend that that's not really a factor. We can talk about pass-through cameras, that you can hit a button and see somebody pretty quickly, but it's still a factor. And in social situations, I've brought my VR headsets to various parties, and I've demoed it to people. And a lot of people are excited and they're ready to demo it and they're interested and they want to try it out. But some of the other people shy away from it, and they shy away from it from an unfortunate standpoint. And it kind of basically goes back to this idea. Some people have a very irrational fear of looking silly, looking goofy, looking weird. Just some people have that fear, man. Some people don't like it when you take pictures of them because they can't control that and they don't know what they're going to look like in the picture. there's different kinds of people out there, and some people are shy. They don't want to put a VR headset on in front of anybody else. And these are like some real issues and some real problems that we're dealing with in terms of like mainstream, wide acceptance of VR from the wide blue ocean out there. And some people will say, well, Anthony, who cares about these people? We don't need these people. VR can be viable even if it never goes truly mainstream. Maybe, or maybe not. Yeah, I think VR is going to continue forever, and we will get games, but will we get Asgard's Wrath? Will we get Half-Life Alyx's? Not into perpetuity. This thing has to get bigger. Then also, if you ever want Red Dead Redemption in VR, if you ever want Grand Theft Auto in VR, this thing has to go way more mainstream than it currently is. And so these are all factors that speak into this. And just Apple with the whole sexiness style and all of that, it just doesn't really make a ton of sense that they would have a VR headset. But having said all of that, we have information that would lead us to believe that maybe they're actually doing this. And I do have a thought process on why they would do it. Now, first of all, let's go back and let's talk. Okay, let's go back to the webinar here. Let's see, I want to make sure I get the right one. Twitch web browser. Here we go. Okay, so a wireless VR console. So yeah, we did hear this rumor a number of years back. CNET reported that Apple was working on this in early 2018. And it was basically, the idea was that you were going to have a box that was going to be in your room, some type of processing box that would wirelessly send the signal to your wireless headset, and you would have to be within a certain range of that box, like 25 feet or something like that. Now, apparently, I've talked about this before. In fact, I think this is a great idea in relationship to PlayStation 5. I don't know if PlayStation 5 has the technology inside it to be able to wirelessly communicate with a wireless PlayStation VR 2 headset, where the headset would need to be within 20 feet of the PlayStation 5, and you could be wireless, and there's almost zero degradation in the video signal. So everything comes through and looks absolutely wonderful, incredible, and you get rid of the wires. The wires are no longer a problem. Is that possible? Maybe it is, but basically what this report is claiming that was the original plan, but legendary mastermind Johnny Ive, who left the company in the summer of 2019, apparently balked at the idea, instead suggesting that the headset should contain the processing on board. So basically it should be a standalone, and it should be powered by one of Apple's A-series chips that they're using in iPads and iPhones right about now. And so this standoff reportedly lasted months, and Tim Cook apparently sided with Johnny Ive. So supposedly this headset may arrive in the year 2022. It will not, of course, have the power of a PC, but it will apparently have sharp resolution and convincing mixed reality. And that's actually what I believe is the real key to what we're talking about here. I think a lot of this, folks, is actually based on the AR future. In fact, I think this headset is all about the AR future, because what I think we're looking at here is, what is the quickest way to introduce a powerful AR device that is cheap enough to go mass market? And the way to do that right now is to deliver it in a VR headset, to not actually deliver an AR headset, instead to deliver a VR headset. But this VR headset would be more of a Trojan horse, because the idea behind it is you've got AR kit and you want to now introduce it into a three-dimensional, you want to introduce it where everything is, you don't have to hold something up. You're not holding up an iPad, you're not holding up a phone, and you don't have to buy $2,000 AR goggles. So what we can do is we come out with a VR headset and we start building that ecosystem. We start greasing those tracks. We start laying down the foundation. We learn the lessons that we need to learn while we continue to bang away on the AR headset and getting the AR headset cheap enough where it's logical and it makes sense. I've argued this a number of times before. We can have some incredible AR experiences in a VR headset. Now, a lot of people that are in the VR world, they think, well, why would you want to do this? What would be the idea here? What's the advantage? Like, just get an AR headset and why even do AR in the first place? You've got VR. VR is better. Why mess around with AR? Well, obviously I've had disagreements here because I still think there's some incredible things that can be done with AR. And I believe that there will be some incredible gaming experiences in VR. I think there's all kinds of things that we can't really think of right now that are going to be factors in the long-term future of AR. And building that ecosystem now, working on all this stuff now, getting it out there, and we're talking 2022, right? So this isn't releasing until 2022. The other factor that combines with this as well is Facebook is a competitor. There is a threat. There is a next computing platform that is going to happen. We are going to make a transition away from smartphones to some kind of hands-free device that gives us our hands back and stops us from tilting our neck and looking down. We're going to have some kind of hands-free device, and it's going to be some kind of headset. It might be AR, it might be VR. But with the Oculus Quest being as successful as it's been, there is a worry that if you leave that unchecked and you just let it go forever, if at some point in time you want to pivot and you feel like, oh, you know what? This Quest thing is now a freaking major threat. There's 20 million of them installed out there. That's not true right now, but in a couple of years that could be very true. And future Quest headsets like a Quest 2 could be significantly more advanced and offer significantly more interesting features and also remove a tremendous amount of friction, built-in hand tracking, absolutely incredible full color pass through, possibly body tracking as well. That's also in the news. We're going to be talking about that. So the Oculus Quest 2.0 could be a potential long-term threat for Apple. So these are the only things that lead me to believe that an Apple VR headset is possible. But just saying a sentence like that is actually difficult for me. It's not easy for me to talk about an Apple VR headset. That just seems like an oxymoron. Now, Apple did purchase Next VR, and that was a head scratcher. Like, we didn't understand, like, why is Apple buying Next VR? Apple acquired SMI, the German firm that specializes in eye tracking. Apple acquired VRvana, which created the Totem, which was like a hybrid between AR and VR that never ultimately was released. This Canadian-based company, VRvana, Apple acquired them. So Apple has been acquiring various companies. Now, usually when they acquire these companies, everybody automatically assumes this is VR, this is VR, this is VR. Even when they acquire VRvana, which was going to be a mixture of VR and AR, it was going to be a combo, a hybrid. Everybody immediately assumed this is going to be for their AR headset, and VR is not a part of it. Why does everybody assume this? Because again, when you think of Apple, you think of style, you think of pizzazz, and it's hard to imagine a VR headset that actually puts that all together. Let's see what some folks are talking about over here in chat. Okay, Philly G says the wire sucks, but it isn't a deal breaker in general. You get better quality when wired, like headphones, for example. Yeah, but we've got to get rid of the wire. We have absolutely got to get rid of the wire. There's simply no other, there's no other option. There's no, like the bottom line is, if you ever want to play Red Dead Redemption VR, if you ever want to play Grand Theft Auto VR, if you ever want to play Battlefield VR, if you ever want to play Fortnite VR, if you ever want to play League of Legends VR, like I do every day for 20 hours, no, that's not me. But if you ever want to do these things, you're going to be doing them. You're going to have mainstream adoption. And I don't think mainstream adoption is going to come via wires. It's just not going to happen. We've got to cut the cord. It's got to be eliminated. There's just no other way to do it. You know, there's no other way to talk about it. So I do believe that we do have to go wireless at a certain point. And the idea of a wireless hub is interesting. Like, I actually liked that idea. But Johnny Ive is like, nah, man, you got to be able to go anywhere with it. The idea of having to be tethered. For example, consider the Xbox One XXXX. Consider that thing, for example, that little miniature refrigerator. Imagine if you had to bring that thing everywhere with you when you wanted to use your VR headset because it had to remain within 20 to 25 feet of that thing. Or the PlayStation 5, for example. Now, it's still pretty useful for most people because you don't necessarily need to bring your VR everywhere around, but the idea of a Quest where you could just take it and go, and you can take it from one room to another room and you can instantly use it. You don't have to worry about moving a major console. There is a serious convenience for that. Let's see. The VR Mang says standalone VR needs latency-free audio video casting. And I got to turn my fan on real quick because let me tell you, it is starting to get really hot in here with these lights, and it was like 100 and something degrees today. So hold on one second here. And the VR Mang says it also needs native global health fitness integration compatible with all fitness trackers. There's definitely latency-free wireless casting is absolutely mandatory. Like you can't see artifacts. That's the other thing. And so I feel like there almost has to be some new kind of technology, and I don't know what that technology is going to be. But it would be nice if there is a technology that you could put some special chip in a PlayStation 5, you put a special chip in the PSVR 2, and because you have that, you have them communicating like that on a special frequency, like the latency is almost non-existent. Could that be possible? I don't know. We haven't heard about a solution like that. So that's where these Apple rumors are at right now. I mean, the real key here, though, is like, could they possibly get into the VR game? Because that would be tremendously exciting. I mean, they talked about an ultra high resolution screen. The one exciting thing about this whole thing here is it says it's designed to feature ultra high resolution screens that will make it almost impossible for a user to differentiate the virtual world from the real one. And what does that mean exactly? What kind of resolution would it require? I could see Apple doing something very interesting in this regard. And I could see Apple saying, look, we're not even bringing out a VR headset that would feature any screen door whatsoever. Screen door needs to completely be eliminated. This thing needs to be sharp, clear, crystal clear. We got to bring the noise when we bring out our VR headset. But when we look at the different VR headsets that are out there, basically the highest resolution in a mass market type of a VR headset, of course, is those Qualcomm prototypes that are 2880 by 2880 per eye, which they do have a tremendously high pixel per degree with that particular resolution at the field of view that those things offer. And the question is, would this Apple headset go even beyond that? And because AR is going to be such a big aspect of this, if it really does happen, because I truly do believe that this VR headset is a Trojan horse. I don't believe that Apple believes that this VR headset is going to be like a major thing for them, but I think it's a necessary thing to build out the foundation while they make their AR glasses better, smaller, lighter, cheaper, etc., etc. And I think that's where they're really going with this. And I'm excited about it because if they come out, like if this headset is a real thing, Facebook will find out about it. Facebook is too huge of a company and the stakes are too incredibly high for Facebook not to find out if this is a real thing. Now, in the spring of next year, we're likely to get Quest 1.5. That is not Quest 2.0, and it's not going to have a ton of next gen features because that just doesn't make sense. They're not going to screw over the existing Quest user base. It's mostly going to be ease of life or quality of life improvements basically over Quest 1.0. It's going to be a comfort improvement. There's going to be some minor improvements. It's going to be like having a DS Lite compared to a DS Fat. They play the same games. It's the same exact content, but you feel a lot better with the DS Lite. That's what I think is going to happen next spring with the Quest 1.5. But if Apple is coming out with this headset in 2022, then that will definitely put some serious pressure on Facebook to step their game up for the Quest 2 when it comes to all the different cameras. They're going to have to step their AR game up as well. And Facebook definitely has AR aspirations, and they probably understand what Apple is trying to do here in terms of building out that ecosystem and laying the foundation so that when they do come out with their legit AR product, they're already ready to go. The facade has basically been constructed, and it's just a matter of pumping more content into it. So that's how I kind of see this Apple thing, because just a straight up VR headset from Apple, that just doesn't make much logical sense to me. So that's kind of how I see this Apple VR thing. But if they did get in the game, it would be absolutely wonderful. It would be incredible. A rising tide lifts all boats. And God, but you got to think, how expensive is this thing going to be? If these ultra high resolution screens go way beyond 2880, if they really try to go to retinal resolution or whatever it is, and they just go overboard with it, I mean, how much money is that going to cost? And are you really going to be able to play like actual games on that? Because we can barely play games. We can barely play games on a reverb without having a 2080 Ti and lowering your settings to some degree. So if this thing's going to be a standalone with an incredibly high resolution screen, it might be leaning more on AR, because if you think about it, if it's doing a lot of AR within a VR headset, then it can incorporate your backgrounds as a lot of the background, and then it's just overlaying some 3D things that come in, and the processing can handle that a lot better. So that's the Apple VR thing. This is the first time, honestly, I mean, there seems to be a lot of smoke, and where there's a lot of smoke, there typically is something burning. So I will say that I'm starting to slowly change my mind, like a gigantic cruise liner that is just starting to make a slight turn on this whole Apple VR thing, because normally this does not make logical sense to me. But we'll see what happens. All right. Well, speaking of Facebook and speaking of the competition that will eventually happen between Facebook and Apple, yeah, this is the next computing platform, ladies and gentlemen. It is either going to be VR or AR. It is going to be spatial, and there are going to be a lot of aspects that come along with this. How often have I talked about full body tracking, and how often have I said that I believe full body tracking could be a major game changer? I really, truly believe in this technology, and it's so hilarious that I recently did an episode with Skiva from Between Realities, right? I believe, this was last Sunday we did this episode, and we talked about body tracking. We spent quite a bit of time talking about body tracking, and how hilarious is it that literally 2 days later, or was it even the next day? It was like either 1 or 2 days later, we got this information. We got this new sample of these Facebook avatars that are being created supposedly off of a single individual camera. How incredible is that? That is truly incredible. Let me see if I can find the article for this that has more information. But yeah, we've potentially got some legitimate body tracking coming to now. I mean, this is not necessarily ready for prime time. It might be a while till we get this on the next riff or the next quest. Like, I don't believe this is going to be around for quest 1.5. Not sure if this is going to be around for quest 2.0, but it's super interesting. But why don't we go ahead and bounce over to the webinar and check it out. So yeah, it says, watch Facebook's latest research on photorealistic avatars and full body tracking. So this was at the annual Computer Vision Conference, CVPR, and Facebook Reality Labs released a short clip showing off research towards photorealistic avatars with full body tracking. Let's see here. Yeah, they're showing off an algorithm which can generate a fairly detailed 3D model of a clothed person from just one camera. Now this article does warn us. It says, don't get too excited yet. This kind of technology won't be on your head next year. While when presenting codec avatars, Facebook warned the technology was still years away from consumer products. So this could be years away. So that's the downside is, will we actually get this? Like, I think it might be like a 50-50 kind of a situation when we're talking about the Quest 2. You would like to see this included with the Quest 2 at launch, because what I understand by this is they're talking about a single camera, and the camera's external, right? So you're basically going to have some type of Connect device that is going to ship with whatever headset that would use this, and this Connect device is going to be viewing you externally because it's going to be able to see your skeletal system. Like, you see that guy, it's creating a skeletal system. It's imagining where all the skeletal points are, where all the muscles are, the tendons and everything, and then it's creating a map over that. You can see it's creating a clothed map of that, and then they can also actually bring in the actual clothes you're wearing. We talked about this in the previous episode when I was talking with Skiva about this, because I mentioned I believe it actually is kind of cool to bring all the features of your body in. Some people balk about this, and like, you'll see comments. For example, actually, in fact, let's go back to the webinar, because I believe there are comments on this article where people actually talk about, I don't really want to be in the game myself. And damn, these people just need to get over it, man. Okay, wait, maybe it's not on here. Let's see. I think body tracking would already be a thing if Valve sold tracking pucks in a 3-pack for $250. Maybe this isn't it, but I know there was an article, maybe it was like one of the previous ones, and people were like, yeah, this looks really good and everything, but you know what? I don't really want to see myself in VR. I think people need to get over that, because I think if you really want some serious immersion, I think you do kind of have to see yourself. And one of the interesting things too about whenever we're seeing body tracking, has anybody ever seen a video where they're talking about full body tracking and they actually show it from the perspective of first person in VR, where somebody is looking down at their chest and their torso, and they're like, oh my God, look at this. I'm really in the game. It's got my shirt. It's got my arm. It's got my tattoos. It's got my scars. Has anybody seen that anywhere? I've never seen that anywhere. I've only seen it from an external third person kind of view, that like when you see these examples would not necessarily add any more immersion to the person playing the game, but it would exponentially make stuff like Rec Room and any sort of multiplayer game or any sort of social meetup kind of situation would absolutely, completely, utterly revolutionize that. I mean, it would be an unbelievable game changer in those categories. But yeah, this full body tracking, I mean, the beautiful thing about this is we are starting to advance this a lot quicker than I thought was possible. And I think that a lot of this goes to machine learning. It goes to neural networks. It goes to blockchain, 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 baby. It's quantum supremacy. That's what we're talking about here. No, it is a lot of buzzwords, but I really do believe Facebook is one of the absolute leaders in the world when it comes to machine learning. And they're using some of that technology, and they can figure out where your joints are, where your hips are, and you could watch millions and trillions of hours of human movements, and it could eventually learn and incorporate that and then create this sort of an algorithm where, based off a single camera, it can tell how you're leaning, it can tell what muscles you're using, and it can incorporate that. It can bring it into the game. And here we see again, you see the full body avatar, they add the clothing to it, and then they're going to add an actual like almost like a green screen capture, almost creating a cartoonish looking representative of the real thing, and bringing that into the game. What I want to see is, I want to see that guy, that gray guy. Okay, here you got a guy dancing around crazy style. This is actually from, I believe, one of the previous F8s. This might be from the most recent F8. Yeah, I think this was from the most recent F8. Remember, they give us this little demonstration. Here's a couple of people that are playing, they have VR headsets on, and they're playing soccer. They're playing soccer in VR. See, each of them are seeing the other person's 3D animated cartoonish avatar with realistic body movements in a beautifully rendered world where they're playing soccer. And so the dream of finally playing soccer in VR, not needing to have any extra trackers, all you need. So obviously an external camera is filming that. You see the two people there. Now that's two people in a local multiplayer kind of a setup, but you have an external Connect kind of camera. Now the key is, though, this has got to ship in the box with the major headset. And so it really comes down to, will this technology be available for Quest 2, or is this technology going to be available for Quest 3? But if this technology is available for Quest 2, then it could potentially give Facebook an advantage over Apple and Apple's VR headset that's supposedly arriving in 2022. Because likely a Quest 2, in my opinion, would probably be spring of 2023 is probably when we'd get the actual Quest 2, because we'd get a Quest 1.5 next year in spring, and then 2 years later the legitimate Quest 2. So it would be coming 1 year after this purported Apple VR headset, and it would have to up the ante from a technological standpoint, and adding this capability in and packing that special camera with every single Quest 2 that's sold, then guarantees all the developers can program for it. It's part of the system. It's part of the setup. Set up your little Connect camera. Put it in right position. Okay, we've got full body tracking. We got you. Now you can play all kinds of crazy shit, and you can do all kinds of amazing social experiences. We can put your body into it. Talk about defy distance. This is where you really, really defy distance. And especially when we think about what's going on in our current scenario worldwide with all this remote work that's taking place, the first company that can really nail all of this, bring our faces, our bodies, and basically just kind of remove the idea that this person isn't, for all intents and purposes, basically standing right next to you, because that's what this technology can effectively deliver if it really is truly realized in an upcoming product that isn't too far away, like a Quest 2, possibly spring 2023. That's my current prediction on that. So yeah, that is the body tracking. I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be super cool. All right, let me go ahead and check out chat and see if anybody's talking about that. And Recycled says Somnium Space actually uses blockchain. It actually uses blockchain. Philly G says VR has been really steady with the good content. Games like Robo Recall and Lone Echo have been around from the jump. Now we are getting Half-Life Alyx type games. This has been an amazing journey. Yeah, there's lots of great VR games to be sure, and great games are continuing to come. In fact, we've got some announcements for some interesting games. So why don't we go ahead and move on to that? One of the big announcements that I've heard about is for Quest fans. There is actually some good news for Quest fans. I don't know if you heard that this is one of the tidbits that was released today, or I heard about this very recently. So Theta Legion VR is a game that has been available on the Oculus Rift. I'm not sure, has there ever been a Steam version of Theta Legion VR? I'm not sure if there's a Steam version. So this game was originally on the Oculus Go, and it was a free experience on the Oculus Go, but it was kind of a basic experience. It wasn't completely full featured, and the developer of this game brought the game to the Rift and the Rift S on the Oculus Store and really did it up proper. Like, I've been very impressed with this game. Like, I enjoy this game on the Rift. It's gorgeous. It has that retro gaming appeal. And then in addition to all of that, it's very cheap. You know, it's like $10 or something like that. So you're not paying a fortune. For example, take another game like Compound, which has basically been $20 from the very beginning and almost never ever goes on sale. And if it ever did go on sale, it was probably for like $14.99, and that was it. You got a tiny little break. Like, it's never chopped in half. And so if you've ever wanted to get a little bit of a retro fix, Theta Legion VR is good for that. And what we're looking at right here, this is actual Oculus Quest footage of Theta Legion VR running on a Quest, and you can see some of the special effects are not as watered down as it would be on, say, an Oculus Go. So it's kept a lot of these effects intact. And I've heard that even like the water reflections and stuff, Upload VR actually got to try a preview version of this, and they said it looks really good. And this is going to be coming officially to the Oculus Store for Quest, so it's definitely something to look forward to. And I think a lot of Quest fans should be excited about this, and this should be one of the more exciting upcoming Quest games, just, you know, for people that want to get that retro fix. And speaking of something like Compound, Bevan McKechnie, where are you, bro? Because you really should be bringing this over. Like, you really, like, Compound really should be on, it really should be on the Oculus Quest. Why couldn't Compound work on the Oculus Quest? So let's look, Compound VR Steam. Let's go to the Steam page for Compound. Yeah, so like if you've wanted a retro feel in VR, and those of us that are older and we played games back in the 90s and we played Super Nintendos and Genesises, and we remember the pixel era of games, and when things were a little bit more simplistic, something like this has an appeal to us, you know, and it looks super cool and it brings back these memories. And there is a demo, I believe, for Compound. Yeah, there's still a demo for it. I highly encourage anybody to try the demo. It's got a really good feel. But like this game, the price has always been pretty solid there at $20. I don't believe it's ever had a discount. But like, look at the graphics. Like, this game is screaming Quest. And if this game was on Quest, it would be selling a tremendous amount of copies. This game would be very, very successful on Quest, because the group think that goes on the Quest subreddit would be all over this. They'd be hyping it up to ridiculous levels. A lot of people would buy it, and I believe it would be very highly successful. Bevan McKechnie is a developer of Compound. If he knows what's good for him, he'll definitely start banging on this and try to get it working on the Oculus Quest. But for those of you that, so if we go back over, let's see, I didn't grab the Oculus Store, so let's grab the Quest Store. If we go over to Rift, we go to Rift. I wanted to double check on Theta Legion. Theta Legion VR. Yeah, so here's Theta Legion VR. And I don't believe this has ever come to Steam, I don't think. So here's Theta Legion VR. You can see it's $9.99. The ratings are very good, although only 17 ratings. Now that is effing disappointing right there. More people should know about this. But you know what's funny? If you do get this game and you do play this game, I hope you don't have a problem with horror. because this game is damn near a horror game. In fact, it basically goes into a full-fledged horror game, and it makes effective use of the sound to kind of freak you out. I mean, you're going through some dark ass hallways and stuff, and there's these aliens, these like pixelated alien creatures. They come out of nowhere, and the sound is really effective, and it can really scare the living daylights out of you. And you can see, I mean, we're looking at, this is the Rift version of the game, and you can see how incredibly crisp and how incredibly the clarity and how dialed in it is. It looks gorgeous. The one downside of this game, I will say, is with a lot of these kinds of games, you fire them up, you play them for a number of hours, you get this retro vibe and this retro feel, and it feels really good. But then what happens is you get over it. You know, it's kind of like you get your retro fix, and then it's like, yeah, I really needed my retro fix. I got it. And so I think there's a lot of people that probably play Theta Legion a couple of days and then never play it again. But the good news is it's only $10. So like, you're not being like, you know, you're not losing a ton of money out of that. So it is good news that this game is going to get a Quest port, I believe. See, there it is. You can see the water there. You can see the reflections on the water. So the Quest port looks like they did a pretty bang-up job. So that is very good news for Quest fans. And I believe this is coming sometime this summer. So the Quest, it seems like the Quest is starting to heat up a little bit, guys, in terms of there's a lot of games that have been in development for the Quest, and there's been a backlog. And so everybody and their mama's cousin are programming Oculus Quest games right now, because it really is a gold mine. If you have the right game and you hit the Quest at the right time and you catch that social media buzz to go along with it, you can make a lot of money, and a lot of developers know that. And there's going to be an avalanche of Quest games that are going to start to hit. And so that's why this curation is going to pay off, because there is going to be kind of an overwhelming number of games that are going to be arriving on Quest. It's going to be an avalanche. It's going to be a bit of a problem. And there's going to be some problems in terms of discoverability and like games standing out from other games, and just too many games hitting simultaneously. So that's going to be interesting. But this summer does look pretty exciting. So that is super cool. But maybe even better, folks, maybe even better is the fact that we've got a trailer for a brand new game that is coming to Rift S and coming to Rift, that is made by this developer. Garage Collective is the developer of this game. And I think somebody else is working on it as well. But it's basically Stimination and Garage Collective is the developer of Theta Legion VR. And they've got a brand new game that they're working on that's going to be coming in the near future here. And let me see. The game is called Stones of Harlath. Stones of Harlath. And so why don't we go ahead and check this trailer out, and we can talk about it on when we come back. So let's go ahead and check this one out. So yeah, this is Stones of Harlath, and you can tell very quickly that basically the developer of Theta Legion, quarter 4 2020, Stones of Harlath, and you can tell that the developer of Theta Legion has basically taken the game engine from Theta Legion VR and has decided to make it kind of like give it kind of a role-playing game sort of a skin to it, is basically what they've done here. And there is actually a story on this. If we go back to Upload VR, I believe they have a little breakdown on this game here. Let me see if I can find this. Theta Legion VR is coming to the Oculus Quest this summer. Yeah. But where is the info? Okay, here we go. Stones of Harlath. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and check this out. So I didn't know anything about this game at all prior to like 2 days ago or whenever this information came out. But I'm legitimately excited for it because I like the retro style. Now, what I'm not so sure about, though, is the 2D bitmap enemies. Like, I kind of wish these enemies had 3D depth. And that was one thing that kind of bothered me, in fact, with Theta Legion VR. Like the one irritating issue with Theta Legion VR is like, I don't know, I kind of felt like if they had depth, but they were still pixelated. Like, look at Compound as an example. Compound doesn't use 2D bitmaps that are pixelated. It uses like 3D polygons that they give a pixelated look, and it's like 3D. So that's the one thing that I'm a little bit unsure about here. But this is Stones of Harlath, and it's coming in quarter 4 of this year. And if they keep the price low, you know, it kind of has that retro pixelated kind of vibe. Looks kind of cool, you know. But let's go ahead and bounce over to the webinar here, and we could read a little more about it. Stones of Harlath is a mystical and open world upcoming VR RPG. Open world, wow, that's kind of crazy. Set on the island of Harlath, this new role-playing game from the Garage Collective will see you play as a powerful mage and will feature a mixture of melee and magic combat. Spells can be cast by drawing out runes with your controller, and when it comes to quests, with hand tracking. And there are 6 different schools of magic with 2 spells each. So yeah, shipwrecked on the small island of Harlath, players will adventure through an open world environment with multiple dungeons, battling foes, solving puzzles, and ultimately discovering the nature of the curse that looms over the island. And it's got the pixel art textures, classic retro style in a new medium. So yeah, it looks pretty cool, and they're saying the developer is citing games like Ultima Underworld, Dungeon Master, and Heretic as inspirations for the game. And when you're looking at the graphics of it, yeah, all of those make sense, especially Ultima Underworld. It really does have kind of an Ultima Underworld look, and Dungeon Master and Heretic. It really does make sense. And one of the problems that this developer might have, though, is another game. Whoops, I'm in the wrong spot here. But there's another game. Is it called like Ancient Dungeon VR? Ancient Dungeon VR. So Paolo Triani has talked a lot about this game, and this game is coming to Steam. It's developed, I believe, by one dude, Eric Tholen. Ancient Dungeon VR is a rogue-lite dungeon crawler with randomly generated dungeons, uncover its secrets, and challenge powerful bosses. And you can see it's kind of going with a similar aesthetic. It's going with the Minecraftian style, but it looks cool. You know, it looks cool. It looks like, you know, kind of like Compound in that same way. There's one screenshot that I really, really like. That one right there, baby. You gotta love the hot lava. That looks pretty good. So the thing is, why does this game matter? Well, this is going for basically the same exact market that Stones of Harlath is going for. It's kind of for that retro appeal with a dungeon crawler, and this game is also coming to the Oculus Quest. And I would bet dollars to donuts that Stones of Harlath is also coming to the Oculus Quest. And why is it coming to the Oculus Quest? Well, Theta Legion VR is coming to the Oculus Quest, and so the engine is already there. The engine is already running there's no question that this game is coming. Like, I'm going to put it in the Oculus Quest upcoming most wanted games, because I guarantee you I will bet $1 million. The only way this game is not coming to the Oculus Quest is if Oculus for some reason doesn't approve of it. But the developer is absolutely banging away on this for the Quest. There's no question about it in my mind. So Ancient Dungeon VR, that's the thing. You know, you consider some of these different genres. You consider lo-fi and lawn and all these cyberpunk games, or you consider these two games. There's a competition, you know. People need to, like, you want to get your game out sooner rather than later, because if you're the first one out, you can solve that retro itch. Like, if this game comes out before Ancient Dungeon VR, a lot of people buy this, they'll be like, I've already kind of played my retro dungeon crawler. I think I have my feel, my feel of a retro, you know, I think I got my feel of it. I don't need more of that. So that's a possibility there. But yeah, that is Stones of Harlath. I think it does look pretty cool. I'm somewhat excited for it. Again, though, like, when you go down the negative road, it really is one of these things. You get this for a weekend, you're playing it for a couple of days, and you're like, yeah, I'm good. But, you know, if it's $9.99, I guess we won't really cry too much. All right, now you want to talk about a trippy game, a game that we have been looking at. In fact, let me grab something here. Hold on one second. I'm going to show you guys something on VR game rankings real quick. So let me get this set up for the webinator. One thing I definitely need to update on VR game rankings is like our top 100 most wanted PC VR games. I've been working on the update like on paper, but like actually getting it onto the website, haven't quite done that yet. But I just wanted to show you a game that we've been ranking for what seems like an eternity. And I was wondering if this game actually still existed. And there is good news. It does exist. Okay, so this is a top 100 most wanted upcoming PC VR games. Needs to be updated. We don't even have the Star Wars. You know, we don't have Star Wars Squadrons in here. So, you know, some games need to be added. But, you know, you can see like there's Lo-Fi and Lawn and Wraith. You know, it's been updated a little bit. But if we go all the way down here and we get down into the deep catalog, and you go all the way to number 81. Number 81 is Babylon Battle Royale by Kite and Lightning. And you can see here we have summer 2020, but I believe this needs to be updated. But do you know that this game, Babylon Battle Royale, has been around since 2015? This game existed in 2015. And it was originally supposed to come out in 2016. Then it was supposed to come out in 2017. Then it was supposed to come out in 2018. Then it was supposed to come out in 2019. So this game has been in development for what seems like ever. I honestly thought that Kite and Lightning, the developer, might have given up on this product and that we would never get it, and that it was just an unfortunate casualty. You know, these things happen, right? But guess what? We've got a brand new trailer, ladies and gentlemen, for this game, Babylon Battle Royale. And it's kind of crazy. Like, the whole idea behind this game and how much time and effort and money that has been spent on this is absolutely insane. But we've got to check out the trailer. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is pump up the volume on this trailer, which is Stones of Harlath. And we're going to check out the brand new trailer for Babylon Battle Royale. Yes, the game still exists. It actually doth exist. So here we go. Let me go ahead and grab it. Babylon Battle Royale. Let's go ahead and check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the greatest rivalry in Battle Royale history. Are you ready for a glorious battle of egos? Maniac will first kilohertz. chases it with a berserker. Ouch. Kilohertz is barely awake, and the fans are eating it up. Oh, this sound. Too slow. What? Oh, shoot, she scored. Kilohertz, silver gold, Maniacal dodges, waits with beautiful triple fury, slamming her to the wall. She is awake now. Maniac, oh, dice bombs. Better roll a 1 or 2. Oh. Now Kilohertz has a good chance. That's got a sting. Maniac cannot afford gambles like that. Not in this match. Oh my god, it's a cry to mommy. Now it's a play of speed. Maniac gets a jump. A Kilohertz snaps it, putting Maniac onto the wall. This is her chance to rebound, and these palm points could be critical. Oh no, Maniac was powered up. Oh my god, Maniac is pulling the impossible again and again. She is pissed, but she gotta pull something epic if she wants to stay in this game. Oh my god, Maniac is bringing the Metroid money. Total domination. This is going around. It's all over for Killer. No way. Is she gonna pull something and make it pop? Oh my god, it's Killer Smash! What an unbelievable moment for Kilohertz. From 0 to hero in a blink of an eye.
Wow, that is weird. Talk about bizarro world, ladies and gentlemen. This is weird. This is so weird. Okay, so I've heard what this game is. It's kind of a mixture between like Mario Kart Party and Super Smash Brothers, okay? Super Smash and Mario Kart Party is the mixture that is going on here. And Kite and Lightning, now Kite and Lightning has this technology that they've developed where they can do this incredible motion capture that is very cheap and effective. Like you can see the expressions that all these babies are doing, all the little dances and all the facial expressions and the animations. They're able to do this very cheaply, very quickly. And so they can create like an entire cartoon practically that is going on. Now, the graphics of the actual game, I don't know if they're going to resemble this in any way, but like this is crazy weird. Like this is really weird. They just set up a brand new website for this game as well, and this is like the major trailer. And so they've been working on this game for like 5 years, and it's just such a bizarre concept. It's also got this like uncanny valley aspect to it. Like it's almost creepy. I feel like the voiceover and the announcers, like I feel like someone has to come in. Someone from a production standpoint, I think like, I don't know, I think there needs to be some changes here. But this is one of the most curious projects I've ever seen. Like this is so weird. It is so bizarre. I just don't know. God, I don't even know what to say about this. It is very, very strange. Why don't we go ahead and check out the website for this game? Like they've got some grand aspirations for this property. Like they're talking TV shows, they're talking movies, they're talking amusement parks. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. I'm not actually kidding. Okay, here's Babylon Battle Royale. So yeah, this is the new website they have for it. It says a multiplayer VR game with comedic arena combat at its core. Coming, and you can see joking here, they've got 2017, 2018, 2019 all crossed off. And then it's coming in 2020, everybody. Finally, coming in 2020. Get rich or cry trying. And so the idea in this game is that basically like they've solved aging, and they did it for everybody where they solved aging, but basically all the babies were like stuck being babies forever. And like these are the babies, but they're like 45, 50 years old and stuff, but they still look like babies. They're like 35, 40 years old running around, but they're stuck in these baby bodies and they have tattoos. I mean, it's got to be just like they must have been high as F when they came up with this idea. It is so out there. It is so crazy. Detour into the Babylon story. But yeah, you can see combat, fight with gusto, humiliate your foes. The one cool thing I do think that this game will feature, assuming that this game actually does come out and like this game really does happen, is like after you do like some kind of super move or something, then it's going to go to a close-up of the baby doing like a weird uncanny valley animation that is going to look like their animation that they've figured out how to do does look pretty freaking cool. So taunting, better antics are a surefire way to gain fans and play to sell out crowds. Specials, pull the right combos to activate furies that devastate your opponent. Beast, when your ego overflows, unleash the beast, wreaking havoc on your opponent with Hulk-like power. Game modes, so you can train, fight, and flight with your homies. Something I can't really read that. Training mode, mano a mano. The four a manos. Arenas, the place where legends. I can't believe this is crazy. Look at all these different backgrounds. The Devil's Brewery. Dude, can you believe what you're seeing here? I can't believe that someone has spent as much time. Look at this. Look at this. This is like somebody had millions upon millions of dollars and they just wanted to blow it on some crazy ass shit. They're like, I know what we're going to do. We're going to spend 5 years working on a game in a genre that maybe nobody gives a rat's ass about. It's going to be third person, but it's going to be VR, man. And it's going to feature, like, these arenas, like, there is some serious, like, this game is like Duke Nukem Forever or something. Like you're going to want to play this game regardless. I have got to play this game when it comes out just to see what 5 years of development, like they just went off on some other stuff off this one. Like they are completely all in. This is just crazy town. Holy moly. Items, weapons of mass humiliation, taste the rainbow. Look at all these like different power. Dude, what if this is like game of the year? What if this is VR game of the year for 2020? Like, who could have ever possibly imagined? Brawlers, unleash your inner wild child. Just like, and the story, like a lot of people that were talking about, okay, look at these characters. Clintwood, Blackwater, Lance, Splosion. Look at these little characters. Fugga Dougie, Icarus, Mara Max. This is so crazy. Kilohertz, Maniacal, Brentley Brook. I mean, just so bizarro world. This has got to be the most bizarro world I've ever seen. Battle vehicles. I mean, look at all the animations and like cinematics that they've done. Oh my! This does not compute, folks. Like, does this compute? This seems like I'm in some kind of alternate universe. This is like I would have a dream, like some weird ass dream, where I went to like some E3 kind of conference, and this was like the big Oculus game, like some kind of fever dream and shit. Look at Straight Out of Babylon. Oh my God, this is just the weirdest thing ever. This truly is the weirdest thing ever. Like, so bizarro world. And so, yeah, apparently they, actually, if like, the website's pretty cool. I like the way that they've done all of this. Like, this is a nicely designed website. But let's go ahead and, where did I want to go? There's some other place I wanted to go. Okay, I think Road to VR. Okay, so I believe Road to VR actually, yeah. So if you guys want to read a long article that actually breaks this whole thing down, head over to Road to VR. Let's see, does it say who wrote this? I guess it's not saying who wrote this particular article. Ben Lang. Okay, yeah, Ben Lang delivers a pretty good article here, and he talks about the entire thing, about like all the time that is spent Kite and Lightning in 2016, they raised 2.5 million in venture capital. But dude, how did that money survive all this time? Like it doesn't seem like 2.5 million. That's back in 2016. We're in 2020. That was 4 years ago. This money should be long gone. I don't know how they were able to do this. And it's like based on, okay, they received $200,000 as part of an Epic Games Unreal Dev Grant program. And it's a no strings attached grant. And it was given in recognition of Kite and Lightning's low-cost, real-time motion capture pipeline, which, yeah, they are freaking next level with that shit. Like, they really are. In fact, if we go check out their YouTube channel, like on their YouTube channel, they've got a ton of videos of how they do all the motion capture and they make the babies, you know, do the different facial expressions and stuff. Like, these guys can create an entire television series, almost South Park style, and just churn it out if they had enough people to do it. And honestly, that's a better idea for them to get their money back. Like, I don't see this as a VR. It's impossible. There is no way in hell these people are going to get their money back. But so anyway, they have this long article over at Road to VR, and I encourage you, go ahead and read this long article. It's pretty good. And then you've got people that comment on it. But yeah, this guy right here, so Sven Viking says, I feel like it actually might have a better chance of success as a TV series than a multiplayer focused VR game. Also, when you base something around comedy, you better be sure a large enough segment of the audience shares your sense of humor. Hope they already took that into account. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I honestly do think it almost looks like it would be better off as some kind of weird animated series, some kind of animated TV show or something like that. But yeah, that is Babylon Battle Royale. It is coming later this year, and it could be the best VR game ever made, blowing Half-Life Alyx and Saints and Sinners, Iron Man VR, you know, blowing all of these games completely out of the water. This, ladies and gentlemen, could be the best VR game ever made. I doubt it, but goddamn, does it have some uncanny valley creep factor like I've never seen ever before. This is crazy town. Okay, let's see. So did I have anything else that I wanted to get to before we bounce out of here? So let me go ahead and bounce back over here and see. Oh yeah, you know, there is actually one other thing I wanted to get into. It's something that is in the news. So one thing that is in the news, folks, is the pass-through. There has been an improvement to the pass-through capabilities excuse me, of the Valve Index. And I finally actually checked this out earlier today. I've never, ever used the cameras that are built into the Valve Index to look at pass-through. I just never tried it. It was just something I never thought about. And I didn't know like actually what you had to do to make them active. So I just never thought about it. But there was a story today. So we'll bounce back over to the webinator. And we will go back to Upload VR. And I believe this was one of the pretty big stories. Yeah, here it is. It's one of the main stories in Upload VR. So it says Valve Index now has 3D correct camera pass-through. And so it says to enable the new mode, you simply toggle room view to 3D in the camera tab of the Steam VR settings. It does require Steam VR 1.13, which is currently only available by opting into the Steam VR beta. So I went ahead and tried this. So this is an illustration of Facebook's Pass-Through Plus, which seems to work in a similar sort of fashion. Okay, so I tried this, folks. I actually gave this ye old college try. And I was in my room here, and I was looking around at stuff, and I was doing that with my hands, and I was looking at objects, and I tried the various settings, and you know what? There's actually some really cool settings. There's actually some settings that you could almost play a game with some of these settings going on, because they have like some different options where it just kind of makes your walls just barely visible, and like large static objects have like a thin little outline, but you almost barely see them. But like if somebody was really, really worried about smashing like a giant 65-inch 4K TV, you know, some awesome Samsung 4K, and they don't want to smash it, you could activate that mode. Because what happened was, I had this mode activated. I've got two monitors right here, and I was like standing more over that way, and I'm looking at everything in this Valve VR pass-through, and I could see these two monitors. You know, I could barely see an outline of some stuff, just very faintly, but I could actually be kind of in a VR world and kind of forget that I have this outline going on. But then if I were to get really close to the TV, I would actually see that. And I think what they need to create, and this shouldn't be all that difficult, quite honestly. I think we have the technology to do that. But like, you could, like, I'll tell you what, this sample right here is from Sadly It's Bradley, the YouTube channel. And my camera pass through didn't look anywhere as clear as this. Like, this guy can clearly see his room. When I did it, it was in color, but there's no way. Now, I didn't have these two extra like spotlights turned on. I just had these regular normal lights that I have on the ceiling, and then I had these lights that surround the perimeter, but I didn't have these big spotlights on. Maybe I should try it with these spotlights and see if that improves it enough. Maybe you need to have a tremendous amount of light going in the room. I did actually open that door though, and it was during the daytime, and I let a bunch of natural light in, and I could see a little bit better, but I still thought it was absolute crap. I'm going to be straight up and honest. I honestly like the black and white weird kind of mode that the Oculus Quest does. I actually like it better than this, okay? And you might say, Anthony, you're a freaking Oculus fanboy. You got to be out of your mind. You like the black and white Oculus Quest mode better than this, when this is actually like a full color pass-through? Yeah, I'm sorry, I do. I like the Oculus Quest one better, because even though it's just like grainy, weird black and white footage, I feel like I can see everything better. And I feel like the distortion, like, see how that guy's hand is like going all like that? Like, that's what it was doing. Anytime you looked up close at anything, it would start to warp into, so you could only see things basically from far away. So like just background things, you can't look at anything up close with this. And like, I guess it tries to warp things to make it more accurate. So like one thing I did is I had my door open over there, and I had my door open, and I was like banging on my door, and I was looking at my hand in VR. And this is always something that's kind of freaky. It's always weird when you're in VR and you're touching a physical item, and in VR you're doing the same thing. And so it's like your brain almost makes this like weird, like you're really hitting something and I'm really feeling it, but you're in like a weird VR world. And I was doing that. I was banging on my door, but it was all distorted. I'm not really a fan of this. I'm sorry. This is not ready for prime time. We've got to get way beyond this, in my opinion, with upcoming VR headsets. VR headsets that release in 2021 that cost like $500 or more, or $499.99 or more, need to have way better full color pass through. I believe that Facebook, like I believe on the Oculus Quest 2, I believe it's going to have incredible pass through. I'm not that impressed with this. In fact, honestly, after like seeing the article and everything, I was like expecting this to be way the hell better than it actually was. Like when I went to upload and I saw this article, and you also go over to Road to VR and they got a big article on it as well. And I've always heard people talk about the pass-through on the Valve Index, and for some reason I just never tried it. You know, like a lot of people have these articles and stuff on it. I don't know, dude. I think it looks crappy as hell. So I'm not really, I think we got to improve by leap. Like, that's not ready for prime time. I would not show this to anybody that came over my house, because I don't think it's a selling point. Like, I would show them the Oculus black and white thing, because that, even though it's not color, I just think it does a better job. So that's my thought on that. But yeah, that was a little story that we had, kind of last minute styly. All right, well, you know, it's kind of late at night. I do have to work tomorrow. I did want to get a Twitch episode up on here so I can at least do a little something. And so we were able to do that, and we were able to cover a number of different stories. So I guess that will work for this particular episode of VR 365. And I did want to remind folks, in case you don't already know, hold on a second here, looking for something. Let's see. Yeah, so in case you guys didn't know, I did want to remind you that we did have our very first episode today of Dark Frequencies, which is obviously not really related to VR too much, but you know, I am in it, and we've got two other VR broadcasters that are in this as well. We got Roots from Virtual Strangers, and we've also got Skiba from Between Realities. We had our very first episode today. I'm trying to find the YouTube page that we're on, which, since we're a brand new channel, it doesn't, you got to scroll kind of forever to find it. Let me see here. Let me just look it up. There's got to be an easier way to look this up. Filter it by channel. Dark Frequencies, here we are. So we're up to 72 subscribers. Yeah, buddy. Earlier today we were like 42 subscribers or something. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked this out, basically, if you have any interest at all in UFOs, in simulation theory, Mandela effect, runaway artificial intelligence, Illuminati, Bigfoot, ancient civilization, or like Atlantis, like just weird stuff, like weird parallel universes, quantum supremacy, just all kinds of interesting, futuristic, scientific kind of topics, like what happens when you die. We've talked about, we're going to have an episode where we talk about what happens when you die. It's going to be a very short episode. No, I'm just kidding. But we're going to talk about all kinds of weird stuff. That's the idea here with Dark Frequencies. It's kind of like, I guess you could say it's like a paranormal podcast. And so our very first episode, we did it earlier today, UFOs and Aliens, Atomic Awakening. We've got 139 views on our very first episode. And we did that earlier today. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, you know, anytime you start something brand new, like if you guys were to go look at the VR Game Rankings YouTube channel and watch like my very first streams that I've ever done, like you would be like, who is this imposter? Who is this scared, timid imposter? You would have no idea that it was me. And so you improve as you continue to bang away. You improve. So I believe we're going to improve by leaps and bounds with Dark Frequencies, and I believe we're going to get a lot better as the episodes continue. But I'm definitely excited about episode number 2, brah. Simulation theory, baby. Are you real? Yeah, so this is going to be coming live in 13 days. This is on July 5th. So basically what's going to happen, folks, is every other week, Dark Frequencies is going to be at 11:30, which is the normal time that we do the Twitch episode. So when that happens, it's going to be late night hype on Twitch, like I'm doing right now. So we're going to have a later show, an evening show on Twitch. And so every other week, but like next week, we'll be back on Twitch at 11:30, and we'll be back to normal. But yeah, that was our very first episode, Dark Frequencies, and you know, had a lot of fun. It was pretty good. I think you'll enjoy it. I think it would be a really cool show. Like, we went for 2 hours and 23 minutes, and I think it's a great kind of a show if you listen to like podcasts and stuff when you're at work. You know, you're trying to get through an 8-hour day and you can listen to a number of different podcasts. Like if you listen to Joe Rogan, because they'll have like these 3-hour marathon podcasts. That's what I think something like this is really perfect for. So that is Dark Frequencies. We're having fun. I'm really excited about the upcoming episode. And after that, I think we're going to do Mandela Effect. Look, I know Mandela Effect sounds like the dumbest thing in the world, but I guarantee you I am going to make a case. I'm going to make a serious effing case for Mandela Effect. So that will be fun. But that's going to go ahead and do it, guys. That'll wrap it up for this particular episode of VR365. I will see everybody next Thursday at 5 p.m. on YouTube. We'll see you guys then. All right. Have a good one. Take it easy and later.